Hello students, I'm going to show you today some important information about works cited. As I read through your expository essays, which were very good, I noticed some work needed to be done on the works cited page. No, really, it's just a list. You just need a list, a works cited list at the end of your essay. It doesn't need to be on its own separate page. And since you only have 4 sources, it shouldn't be that challenging. But first, I want to just go through the main reason why you have your works cited list and why it needs to be formatted the way it is. When you quote something in an essay, you'll put in parentheses the last name and the page number, or the last name without a page number if it's like an online article that doesn't have page numbers, of the author, and that way your reader can just look at your works cited and go to the source. They can see, okay, this is the title of the book, this is the publisher, all right, that's a legitimate publisher. Oh, this is a university press, that's good. Excuse me. So it's a way to create a map between your paragraphs with the quotations that you use and the source that you're drawing from. So I've added here a new page. It'll be live as soon as this video is done. That has a great resource for you here, which comes from University of Wisconsin-Madison's Writing Center. And lots of universities have writing centers. San Jose State actually has a great one. But you can always just search if you can't find this, in future dates, if you don't have access to this page anymore. You could bookmark this first of all, but you also can just search for university writing centers and look for MLA documentation, creating an MLA works cited page, the title of this one. Okay, so the general formatting, most of you have that down perfectly. Keeps changing, partly because there's so many different sites, but we kind of went over this already. I just want to go over it again with you. These are the main elements of a works cited entry. You're going to have the author's last name first name, period. Title of the source. If it's a book, you put it in italics. If it's an article, you put it in quotation marks. Title of the container, if it's from a website, if it's from a journal. Other contributors, if it's translated by, edited by. The version, like for example, our they say, I say is edition 6. The number, if it's an article from a magazine or a journal that has volume numbers. The publication date and the location. Date of access is for websites because sometimes they disappear, and so you want to say when you were able to access that information. Here's an important part. If the source doesn't include one of these elements, just skip over that one and move to the next. You're going to put a period or a comma depending on which category it is. So for example, when you do your publisher, comma, publication date. Let's take a look at an example. Okay, well first let's look at this. The third category, container, refers to the larger entity that contains the source. Could be a journal, a website, a television series, etc. poem might appear in an edited collection that has been uploaded to a database. Or a television episode is part of a bigger series which is contained by Netflix. So you're going to provide information about the smaller one first. So like say you were looking at episode 2, season 1 of Seinfeld. And then you're going to use Netflix as the larger container. All right, and here's how that works. Author, title, container, and then these elements refer to the container. Right, so we've got the author, the title, the container. There are no other contributors, there is no version, there is no number, the publisher, the publication date, the title of the container, the publisher, the location is the website link itself. Like I said before, the date of access, some websites come and go. So if it's like a blog, for example, you might want to put the date of access, but if it's a university website, it's probably going to remain. So you don't need to put the date of access. Okay, so books are self-contained, so you don't need to go through item 3. It doesn't need a container. The book is the container. You're going to italicize the title, put a period after the title. You're going to put a period after the name too. You always end the citation with the period. Okay, so if you do put an access date, you're going to put a period after the URL and then add the date, access date information. Okay, so the access date, again, if it's a website that's going to change, you know, certain, like it's a commercial website where they're going to seasonally be changing things, you want to put the access date. All right, so works cited page entry article. Now, right now we're just using the general web for our searches. At a future date, you're going to be using a database like JSTOR or different scholarly journal aggregates. But this is where you're going to find that information. And each entry here has a slightly different variation, so you have to just check and make sure that you're looking at the right one. Okay, so now we're getting down to, you know, if you're doing the New York Times, if you're doing the New Yorker, if you're doing an article. So this is an article from a magazine that's online, right? So for example, The Atlantic. You're going to put the last name, first name, period. Quote, title of the article, period. Italics, title of the magazine. Volume, number, date, page numbers, period. Then you're going to put the URL for where you found the article. Okay? We're not working with fiction, but if you're doing a short story that's in an edited anthology, this shows you how to do that. You do last name, first name of the author that you are reading their short story, not the editor. You're going to put the editor at the end. All right? Books, if you want to cite they say, I say, you're going to put the author's last names alphabetically, period. In italics, the title of the book, period. The title of the publisher, comma, the date of the publishing, period. Okay? So this would be more appropriate since our book has two authors, but it's basically the same thing. Both authors' names start with the one that's alphabetically first, period, title, publisher, date. So these are all possible different sources. One of the things I thought was pretty cool about looking through these types of sources is you have the ability to choose a lot of different sources. For example, you could do your own personal interview, and this shows you how to cite that as a source. You could do a film or a DVD. Here's how you do that. A television show, streaming, visual art, a lecture, or reading. So there's a lot of different creative ways that you could bring different voices into your articles, into your essays rather. And just going through this list might give you some ideas. All right, like there's even, where is it? A tweet or an email. You could cite an email. So that's pretty cool. Now back up here, works cited page entry electronic source. This is probably what most of you are working with. And so sometimes you have a article that doesn't have an author's name, right? So for example, the Writing Center, this article itself doesn't have a title or an author. So you're going to put the title of the publication first in that case, the title of the website, the publisher of the website, the URL, and the access date. Oh, I forgot the year of publication, right? So you've got the title of the publication, the title of the website, that's the container, the title of the publisher, that's the university's Writing Center, the date of its publication, the URL, and then when you accessed it. Period after this, period after this. Okay? Same thing is true. There are some, like if you were quoting from, say, like Nike's website, there's no author, you're going to put Nike here, title of the publication, title of the website, publisher of the website, year of publication, URL, access date. So the important thing is, usually most of your articles are going to have an author, and I thought I would choose an article just to show you how I do it. And the main thing is you want to be as accurate as possible, but the main thing is you want to just get it in the right order and not be inaccurate. So for example, this is an article. If I was going to write an argumentative essay, I would write that in 2026, museums need to adapt their strategies by connecting with influencers to broaden their reach to mitigate the challenges of a downturn in their admissions. Okay? So I looked for articles about why museums are declining in 2025 and 26. This is from the ArtNet, an art newspaper. And here's the title, Art museums are bracing for a difficult 2026 amid funding cuts, new survey finds. Here's the author, here's the publication date. Okay? So if I go back to my list, I'm going to look for the author first. All right? I'm going to put this in here as an example. So the author is Sarah Casconi. I'm going to put Casconi, Sarah, period. Next, I'm going to look for the title of the source. The source is the article, so I'm just going to copy and paste it. I'm going to put it in quotation marks. And then I'll just reformat it. Boom, there we go. Period after the end of the title. We're going to look for title of the container, which is the website. That's going to be Hartnell. Okay, so now here I'm going to put Hartnell, period. We're going to look at, we don't have other contributors, but there is the publisher. So the publisher is Hartnell News. Let's see, this one just keeps going. So Hartnell is the container, Hartnell News is the publisher. I'm going to go next with publication date, 2025. And we're going to put the location, going to be the URL. Put a space there. It's the URL, period. And the date of access, so I'll put November 2025. Now that is the correct works cited entry, last name of the author, title of the article, container, publisher, date, location, date of access. That seems like a lot, but if you just follow this first list, is going to give you everything you need to know. You can go down and get more specific, but at least if you're just following this part, you're going to be pretty solid. So that's your MLA help, and I hope that you're able to use it. Great job on your first essay. Looking forward to reading your second batch, and email me if you have any questions. One note on that, please email me directly at jthomas1@hartnell.edu. Sometimes, for some reason, I miss the internal emails through Canvas. So just use your regular email and email me at jthomas@hartnell.edu. All right, thank you very much.